All right, today we're going to go over something that's really important when you're learning Spanish, which is conjugations. What actually is a conjugation? So this is only for you if you're a complete beginner, or if you've been studying Spanish for a while and you still don't know what a conjugation is, then this is really holding you back massively. Let me just check and make sure the audio is good. Okay. So what is a conjugation? Well, we're going to start with English first. So in the present tense, this is how you would say the verb to eat. You could say I eat, you eat, he or she eats. Basically, the way you modify the verb is a conjugation. So in English, it's pretty straightforward. It's always just eat, except for he and she. It becomes eats with an S. So the conjugations stay pretty consistent in English. In the past tense, there is no difference between the conjugations. Each subjects are basically who's doing the action, whether it's I, you, or whoever, stays the same, right? But with Spanish, there's a lot more variance in the conjugations. So if you're a Spanish speaker learning English, it's quite easy, at least when it comes to learning the verbs, because you don't have to memorize the different variations. Versus us English speakers, we have to memorize the pattern, and then that pattern applies most of the time. So what is a conjugation? Even though we kind of just went over it, what does it depend on? It depends on two things. Who is doing the action? That's called the subject. So that can be I, you, he or she, etc. And those words are called subject pronouns. And it also depends on when it's being done, right? So you notice it was eat in the present tense, and then it became ate in the past tense. So it depends on the tense. In Spanish, it's the exact same thing. But there's another thing it depends on. A third thing, which is the verb ending. Okay, does the verb end with AR, in which case it's an AR verb, or does it end with ER/IR? They share the same pattern. So that determines as well what conjugation it is. So for example, the verb to eat in Spanish is comer. So the verb ending is ER, as you can see. So it's considered an ER verb. So it's going to follow the pattern for whatever ER verbs follow. So you need to learn the conjugations if you want to be able to put sentences in Spanish. And most people try and avoid this because it's the most overwhelming aspect of Spanish. Let me show you a master sheet that I show my students. This is basically, let me just move this a little bit. The present tense here, you got two past tenses in Spanish. You've got the future tense, conditional, present, past perfect. So there's a lot of memorizing to do. But that's part of learning language, and realistically, learning Spanish requires less memorization than basically any other language for us English speakers. It's one of the most similar languages to English, believe it or not. So, like I said, comer is an ER verb, so it's going to follow these patterns. So the endings are basically, you remove whatever the ending is, whether it's AR, ER, or IR. So in the case of comer, we remove the ER. Let me just zoom in a little bit. You remove the ER, and depending on who's doing the action, if it's yo, which is I, it ends with O. That's a memory trick that I tell my students. Yo goes with O. Yo como. And tu is typically going to end with S, and that's a consistency across most tenses. You can see the end with S. Let me just zoom in a little bit for you here. So you can see for tu, it typically ends with S. But even in the past, okay, maybe not in the preterite, but in this past tense, the imperfect, it ends with S. Sorry, it's not on your screen. Comías ends with S for tu. Even in the future tense, the future conjugations are a little bit different in that you don't remove the ending. You just add to the verb infinitive, right? So you're not removing that AR, you're adding the endings in the future tense. Future and conditional are both like that. That's why I have this note here of you don't remove them, you add the endings to the infinitive. Now you might be asking, what is the infinitive? The infinitive is the unconjugated form of the verb. Right, so the conjugated forms would be yo como, tú comes, etc. But the unconjugated form is comer, which in English, the infinitive, that's what it's called, the unconjugated form is called the infinitive, always comes with a to before the verb, to eat. Vivir is to live. So a really good website that I'll pull up that I used to use all the time is called Spanish Dictionary. And so as you can see, the website shows you the conjugation in every tense for every subject. Okay, so some of them we didn't go over. Don't worry about that right now. You can do your own research on that. But basically, you can find the word and then how to pronounce it.
Como. Comes.
And this is a completely regular verb. If it had some irregularities, like the verb tener, it would show up in red. So when a verb doesn't follow the pattern that I showed you in like the master sheet here, where we have these patterns, the part of it that doesn't follow the pattern is highlighted in red. So tener, you would think it becomes teno based on the pattern. ER verb, right? You would think it becomes yo teno based off this rule, but it's yo tengo. So you need to learn the regular verbs, and unfortunately, typically the most common verbs are the regular ones because that's just how it works. So hopefully that helps you understand what conjugations are. You need to learn these. If you can learn how to conjugate verbs consistently in all these different tenses, I feel like I'm about to sneeze, that's what's really going to make you conversational to an impressive level. Anyways, that's all for this video. Peace.